Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. Can you tell what we're talking about today? So we're talking frequently asked questions with mature skin. So I obviously have half my face done, and we're going to talk about the most questions I get asked, because I get asked quite a bit on a daily basis. And so I'm just gonna drop it all in this video. For my top tips and tricks for mature skin, keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. Hey friends, okay, let's just get right into it and talk mature skin. So I know the last time I did a video on mature skin, I got some comments about how I don't have mature skin, but you guys, I totally do. I feel like mature skin isn't necessarily an age. It has more to do with the amount of time you spent in the sun when you were younger. And I regrettingly used to be in the tanning bed quite a bit. So I obviously aged a lot faster than I would have liked to. And so now I'm trying to reverse all that damage. But it has a lot to do with how you took care of your skin. And again, I didn't take care of my skin probably until the last 3 years since I become an artist and discovered our skincare and realized, wow, it's amazing how much younger you can look when you take care of your skin. So that is my number one thing. I get asked all the time because as you age, you might not realize your skin actually loses a lot of moisture from year to year. So a lot of people with mature skin have drier skin. And I was one of those people. So when I discovered mascara and actually started with, at the time, was the only skincare product, it night and day changed the way my skin was. And so I always recommend, if you have dry skin or if you really want to make or see some changes in your skin, to balance. I used to have oily and dry skin. I was just all over the place. My pH was way off until I discovered milk cream. So my number one thing is taking care of your skin, getting a good skincare regimen, and I swear your makeup is going to lay better. You're gonna have so many less issues you're trying to combat because your skin is already gonna be a beautiful canvas, right? So our milk cream comes in 2 different formulations. I get asked all the time, they're the same exact formulas. I said 2 different formulations, 2 different kinds. I don't know. We have Classic and Title. They're the same formulation except scent and packaging. So this one smells, in my opinion, more fresh, and this one's more sweet. I am really bad at scents, so don't ask me. But I use that at night, and I am golden the next day that I only have to use my sunscreen as moisturizer. So I do recommend, if you are applying this in the morning before your makeup, you're letting it sit in and making sure it's completely soaked in before you start with your makeup. So another thing I get asked is about under eyes. I feel like it's probably people's number one issue with mature skin. So I do recommend using an eye cream under your makeup. Find something you love and something that is super hydrating. So right now, because I want brightening, I've been using this Banana Bright eye cream. So I've already applied that. And again, I make sure that's fully soaked in before I go in with my creams, because again, creams are super hydrating in themselves. You wanna make sure that these are soaked in first. And then lips as well. We pretty much dry out all over. I don't know about you, but I've always had dry lips, and that's something I still struggle with. But I really do like the Laneige. It's technically a lip sleeping mask. I use it like a lip balm, and it's really good. So a recent discovery that is brand new to the market. I'm obsessed so far. Like, I've been wearing it every day. I love it. So again, as we age, we lose the luminosity in our skin. So again, that goes with drying skin, right? You feel like you have lost that glow. You want brightness back, all that stuff. So enter Glow Screen. So Supergoop has amazing sunscreens. I've been trying this out, and I've been grabbing this over my normal Ulta MD, which I love because it's got great skincare benefits, but I'm loving the glow I get. And simply that's all I have on this side is this. It's not so shimmery that it's like you're gonna feel like a disco ball or you're gonna feel like you are, you know, shiny. It simply adds, I don't know how else to describe it, that beautiful glow, that luminosity. And when you're lacking it, you'll take it anywhere you can get. This is amazing. Okay, so start with a clean, fresh, glowing canvas and your makeup's gonna go on better. That is my trick. Number one is take care of your skin. I'm gonna try to go in somewhat of an order, but because I need to apply my other side, I'm gonna skip to lashes. So also as we age, our brows thin out and we lose a lot of volume in our lash line. So as you can tell, I don't have a whole lot of volume at all. And when I discovered these lashes, they were a game changer for me. So if you haven't seen any of my videos, you might not know how obsessed I am with Lashify. So these are I call them at-home lash extensions. I apply them once a week and I wake up with my lashes looking like this. So one thing not to skip is either some kind of lashes, or if you don't want to do that on the daily, I totally get it. Curl your lashes because that will lift the eye. Can you tell? I mean, I have very aging eyelids. One of the ways I disguise that is by having full lashes that kind of conceal that. So at least curl your lashes. Lots of black mascara. You really want to go for a thickening formula because usually your eyelashes thin out over time. Thicken those lashes. I'm going to go ahead and apply them real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, so I feel better. Got my lashes done. If you want to check out more about Lashify, I've got a ton of videos. I will drop one in the description box below so you can check it out. So the next thing, keeping with that youthful skin, or going back to the youthful skin, foundation. Number one thing I get is, how can I look younger? It's easy. Cream makeup. If you've never tried creams, or if you have tried creams, these aren't your grandma's creams. I say that all the time because I know when I used to think about cream makeup, I would think like those compacts that were like dry, cakey, just heavy, but these are actually super light, super pigmented, so you need very little. So the only way they can be heavy is that you are way over applying. And they're just so easy, so blendable, and they give your skin that glow. They don't take away the glow, they give it to your skin. In fact, these creams will improve your skin over time. They hydrate because, I'll get sciencey on you for a second. They're called occlusive agents. So what that means is that they actually sit on top of the skin and they will prevent your skin from losing excess moisture. So all that moisture that normally your liquids or powders were pulling out of your skin and actually creating you drier. That's why you would like in the day and your skin would be getting dry or cracking or look flaky. That's because the makeup was pulling that water out of your skin. Creams don't do that. They actually hold the water in your skin so that you are gonna be more hydrated than before you put on your makeup. So it is incredible. I know it's completely changed my skin for the better. And I've heard from so many of my mature skin ladies how amazing their skin is now that they switched to creams. So let's talk 3D foundation. All right, so my number one thing with 3D foundation, people are like, okay, I don't want to emphasize my lines. Let's just be real for a second. No makeup is going to take away pores or lines from your face. It's just impossible. Unless you cake on so much makeup that it fills in every little crevice on your face, but then it's gonna look like you're wearing a mask. So these creams are amazing at blurring, but they don't ever look like a mask because they're going to actually look like your skin when you're done, okay? They shouldn't look like heavy makeup. They're just gonna look like your skin. The best way to figure out exactly how to get the best application is to get a color match from an artist. So if you need my color match request, I will drop it in the box below. It is super important with this foundation that you have somebody experienced that can color match you, because I promise you, you're not going to be able to guess your colors. It's extremely deceiving because these colors look very off in the 10. They're just deceiving. Like this color, all the time people are like, that looks straight up orange. You guys, I have that on. It might look orange in the 10, and even if you swatch it super heavy, but you're not going to be wearing it that heavy on your skin. It's going to be blended out so much that it's just going to blend in and give you coverage. A little goes a long way. And I will be real with you, 90% of my mature skin clients need this color. So as we age, as we have had a lifetime in the sun with sun damage, a lot of people have hyperpigmentation, age spots, sun damage. They have that darkness in their skin. I have it. I've always been freckled, but I have increased hyperpigmentation, which I tried to cover over here. And that color is amazing for sun damage and redness and darkness. So I'm going to show you how I use it. This is, no joke, what I call magic mango. It's called mango. I call it magic because I'm obsessed with this color. So I'm just going to tap in and get a little bit on my finger. Now you can see, hopefully, how purple around my eyes are. I'm just going to take the smallest amount and I'm going to use the warmth of my finger and I'm going to get rid of that dark circle. The undertone of this color is what makes it so amazing at color correcting purple, red, blue, green, pretty much everything. I'm going to pick up a little bit more on this brush and I'm going to press it on my eyelid to get rid of all of those veins and to get in that inner corner if I missed any. And there you go, it's gone. Now I also use this color for my redness. So I don't know if you can tell, I mean, it's pretty much gone here, but I have a lot of broken capillaries around my nose. Most people's noses are redder or darker, and I'm going to use this color to color correct. Now, you don't have to necessarily know at all what you should be color correcting. That's my job. When you send me your selfie, I'll tell you exactly where to place every color. And if you even need this color, because no, I'm not saying everybody needs it, but a lot of people can use this shade as a base. And a lot of people have redness. A lot of people have hyperpigmentation. So I'm just going to, and you see how very little I used, okay? I used so little, you can't really even tell it's on my skin. My lips look really weird now that they're half done. And I got the coverage for that redness. My dark circles are gone and I'm all evened out. Okay, now I'm gonna go in and even out even more. So the number one biggest issue with this makeup for mature skin is being color matched too light. So if you have been color matched and you're wearing your makeup and you are looking at yourself and you're saying, okay, yes, I have pores, yes, I have lines, but they look worse with the makeup than with bare skin, you have the wrong color. I can tell you that. I've had people that come to me that have been matched 10 shades too light, and one shade makes the biggest difference. So with mature skin, you have to wear a darker shade than what you even think is necessary. It's kind of crazy the way these creams work. They're kind of unpredictable in that way, and you kind of have to have experience with them to understand what skin tones need certain colors. Because you might look like you're this color. A 20-year-old might be able to wear that color just fine, but it wears completely different on, somebody 40 years older with the same color looking to their skin. It's crazy. I'm telling you, I promise. Go to an expert. So, all right, I have color corrected. Best way to not emphasize fine lines, pores, wrinkles, any of that. Don't use a shade too light, okay? That is the case with any age, honestly. Doesn't matter. With this makeup, if you're wearing a shade too light, you'll notice that it's gonna wear off in a couple hours. It might look great, and then you're gonna say, where did my makeup go? Your shade's wrong. So it might take a little bit of trial and error if you did not go to an artist. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with my main shade now, and I get asked all the time, what's the best brush, best application for mature skin? And by far, without a doubt, it's gonna be the B squared, which is technically a blush and bronzer brush. But I will be completely honest, our brushes are so multi-purpose. I don't consider this a blush brush. I recommend this for almost anyone starting with this makeup. And the reason why is, if you saw, I just applied my color corrector with this brush. Do you see how dense these bristles are? This brush, you can tell, holds on to color more. It picks up a whole lot more color. And this brush is very soft and flexible, okay? So I'm very experienced. I've been an artist for almost 3 years. I know exactly how much I need, but there is a learning curve and it takes some time to figure that out. So I don't recommend this brush for beginners. In fact, I only recommend this brush once you are familiar with 3D foundation, you've been wearing it, and you like full coverage. Okay, the only reason I would suggest this is to use this smaller end, and I'll show you how I accent brighten, and I do love this end for that. And you saw I added it around my eyes. I do like where the angle of this corner can fit in to those small areas. This one obviously cannot, as well as this one can. So you'll see I use this a lot around my eyes to press on shades. Now, this bad boy is so good because you can really easily use this side in multiple ways. So when I color match you, I actually will give you a full color match describing how to apply your makeup for your face, because everybody's face is different. If somebody is not using a color corrector, they're gonna apply a different way. And there's just a multitude of ways you can apply this makeup. So I will tell you what I recommend for the coverage you're asking for. So when I usually make recommendations, I like this brush for color corrector, what I just used, because you can tap in and you can buff. So this motion is buffing, okay? This motion for mature skin is really great for a base, okay? But you wanna be careful around the eyes. So obviously this skin is thinner, it's more delicate, and we don't wanna like pull and tug at this delicate under eye area. So I always recommend buffing the main part of your face. And then when we get to the under eye, that's why I like to use my fingers to really gently press or kind of use the warmth of my finger to get it on there in a thin, even layer. And then I always recommend pressing. If you've ever seen my tutorials, you know I press on everything after that first layer. I press it all on. This brush can easily buff and it can easily press. You can go anything from buffing will give a natural finish, pressing gives a more full coverage. So I find a lot more mature skin women, they're either really strongly one way or the other. They either want it fully natural or they want it full coverage. So this brush can totally do that. So now I'm gonna go in with my second shade, which is my main highlight, which actually will match my neck. Well, it doesn't fully, but since I'm layering shades, the thing about layering is that I know that mango plus my main shade is gonna match my neck. And that is, again, why you need an artist. If you do have a color corrector, they can pick the colors that will match you up perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and do my main highlight. This is mine. I am just going all over with my main shade. And I'm pressing. I'm not pulling, I'm not tugging, I'm not buffing this because I don't want to move the color corrector I just placed underneath. I'm simply pressing this all over. And I just remembered I forgot something. Guys, I forgot. This is gonna be creased on me in no time. Okay, we'll get back to this. So let's continue with this. Okay. It's like squirrel. I forgot. Okay, so I am pressing. I'm gonna try to do the other half of my face. Okay, so my redness is gone. I'm all evened out. And look, now I match my neck. Because if I was to use that color I use as my color corrector, I would automatically be pulled way darker than my neck. And I don't want that. Okay, so I got my main shade on. The next brush, I don't call this, this isn't a brush. The next tool is a must-have for mature skin. In fact, it's a must-have for any skin, and that is the Perfector. So if you don't notice with the cream, it can feel too heavy-handed, and it's so easy to get too much of these creams when you're not used to it. So the only way to remove any and to make it look like skin again is this Perfector sponge. So I've already got it barely damp, squeeze it out in a towel. It's not wet, it's not dripping, it's just cold to the touch. And this is what I'm going to tap and just press all over the face to keep my makeup looking like skin and not get too thick and heavy. So I had already layered 2 shades. I actually recommend when you're brand new, if you are using any kind of base color corrector, you do this in between each layer. Then once you're doing it a long time, you're OG like me, you'll know exactly how much to add to where you can just do this once at the very end and get the perfect finish. But it does take a little time and practice. Okay, now I am going to go ahead and contour. So when it comes to contour, there's no difference for mature skin there's no difference. So my favorite is the detail. And I would say that the biggest question I get with contour and mature skin is if you have any hyperpigmentation along your contour and how to apply your contour without emphasizing that or taking away that color corrector. So it's kind of hard to blend if you're used to blending like this to not blend all that away, all right? So we've already layered 2 shades here in order to get better coverage on this area. Again, you don't have to, but with mature skin, usually you have something you're trying to cover. And if not, what is your skincare secret? Because obviously I was in the sun way too much and I'm regretting it now. But I'm gonna go ahead and use my detail hack as my ride or die contour, and I'm getting Astoria on half my brush, okay? And this is my technique that I've kind of come to love over all this time because I can do as little blending as possible. So I recommend practicing applying your contour if you do have dark spots in this area, that you can apply it in a way that you can press it on and not have to really use your brush much to blend, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of dab it on the back of my hand because I had an excess on my brush, okay? And so I'm just gonna have the lightest layer here. I'm gonna go to the top of my ear, okay? And I'm gonna act like I'm going right towards the corner of my mouth. And I'm just gonna gently press on that color, stopping about the corner of my eye, okay? and I'm just distributing that color. Now, I'm gonna slowly start moving upwards with my brush so that that color is fading up, okay? I'm not gonna pull it down. I'm gonna kind of pull it upwards along that cheekbone so that it fades as it goes up, because I want the strongest part of my contour here, and I want it to fade because we're gonna add our lip and cheek here, and it's gonna all be connected, and it's gonna look more natural when there's no gap. Okay, so do you see how I pressed that on, and I did not move my brush at all? I didn't even have to pull it. I literally just did that all with a really gentle pressing motion. That's all I did. Now, with contour, I know it's hard if you're not used to contour and it's new to you. This might be way too much for you, like too strong. That's when you can pick up the same brush you highlighted with and just press it along the lower part of that line. And you can just keep pressing that brush. You don't have to wipe off the highlight. There might be a little bit left, but honestly, our brushes don't really hold on to color much, except for this one. I find this one does the most because it's so dense. That's why I love this brush. If you get too much in here, just press right there. We're blurring edges, and that's all we're doing, okay? If you feel like it's just way too harsh or you got it too far, that's when I say dip into, just tap into your highlight and then press it along that bottom, and that's going to define it back out. Okay, so then same thing goes with forehead. The forehead's much easier in my opinion. I kind of just, like, if you can see it. I'm gonna get that color on the brush. Okay, so I'm just gonna put it along my hairline, and then see how there's like a gap right there? I'm gonna press that into my hairline, and then I'm gonna also pull it down into my highlight. Okay, so we want just a gradual fade. We're just framing out framing out the face. Okay, and then jawline. So sometimes people want to disguise jowls and things like that, and really you just want to think about where you're trying to disguise it, and you want to kind of like put the shadow on that area. Now you see how I just got on the side of my face? I don't recommend that. I like to stay under my jaw. Say that that was an area I want disguised though. I'm just gonna keep pressing until it's blended. But that dark is gonna actually, it's gonna actually make, see how that looks more defined? I have a very square jaw. That softens it out. Like, so if you are wanting to disguise something, that's how you were to do it. You just put that color there and then just press to blend, okay? So I always blend down my neck as well. So I didn't do nose contouring today. That can be a video in itself. So contour is done. Okay, so I'm sure when you hear highlight and contour, you might think, okay, I'm not gonna put all of that under my eyes, just gonna emphasize all of my fine lines. Okay, so best way to brighten for mature skin, which I feel like I look pretty bright on this side, okay? I did not do all the way under my eye like I normally do. And yes, it's something you're gonna have to play with because that is like my problem area, yet I can brighten all the way under my eye due to technique. It's all about technique and the shade you choose. So lighter does not always mean brighter, and lighter is always not better, especially with mature skin. If you go too light, actually the lighter you go, the more it will emphasize lines and wrinkles, okay? And I'm gonna try to demonstrate that. So on this side, I did brighten, but I just have a smaller triangle. So my last and favorite brush, which I know I already said, that I don't recommend this, but when it comes to the under eye, I do. And it's because most of the other brushes that you can use, you almost have to pull at the under eye. When it comes to mature under eyes, we don't want to pull at all. And I recommend a brush you can press. So my favorite is the small end, so there's a large and a small end, the small end of the Buffy for under the eye. Okay, now your artist can tell you a great color. She's gonna look at your undertones and the lightest colors in your face and neck in order to determine what a great brightener shade would be. So sometimes that's gonna be more subtle, sometimes it's gonna be brighter. You can always try a brighter one later, but be warned that it's going to emphasize more fine lines and texture under the eyes. So I'm gonna show you how I kind of can get around that by adding an extra shade. So for me, I use Aura, okay? So this is my color corrector main shade brightener, okay? Little goes a long way. The biggest thing with under eyes is you're gonna have more issues if you apply too much cream under your eye. So, no joke, this is what I do. Tap it. Now, I know it's hard to tell exactly how much is on there because this brush does hold on to color and it was already that color, but I promise there's not too much on there. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna look right in this inside corner, right here next to your nose, and you're just gonna press that color right there. So you can see right now, it's not a lot of product, okay? But I'm gonna take what I have and I'm gonna then I'm gonna press to pull the color where I want it, okay? So I'm gonna go down my nose and down to about the center of my eye. I'm not going directly under where I have the most lines. I'm going right here. And then, so I call it almost like that pad. I don't know what else to call that. That pad right next to your nose when you smile. Everybody has a little bit of like, almost like fatty part right there. What else would you call it? I'm adding it right there. That is right where I want to brighten. And I'm just going to keep pressing. And I want that. So instead of this large triangle here, I'm going here, okay? So side of the nose and right here, okay? So none of this under here, I'm brightening at all, but it's still gonna give you that brightened look because we can continue to brighten that center of the face to give that highlight part of the highlight and contour. So think small triangle, and then we can continue to brighten the rest of the face. So little goes a long way. I get even less in the forehead because, well, I say that and then that looks like way more. But I'm gonna just keep what's on my brush and I'm gonna press. So again, I'm pressing, okay? You'll notice that this brush is really good to press in color. And if you don't press it in, it's gonna sit on top of your skin. So any color will until you get that magic perfector. So I'm gonna go down the center of my nose. Even though I did not contour my nose, I like to brighten from that triangle down in between my brows, down the center of my nose, usually my Cupid's bow, and then the center of my chin. If you're one of those people that have a lighter neck and you really need to bring in the tones from your neck, not just to the center of your face, but to your jawline, you can tell like this side's a lot lighter than this side, then use that color, same color, and press it on along your jaw. I'm trying not to do too much because mine does match already, but press it right under that contour along your jaw, and that's gonna tie in because obviously your neck, what people see first is your chin and your jaw, and if those aren't matching, that's when it looks off, okay? So add a little bit there and you're golden. So I love to then go back in with my perfector because layering shades is what will sit on the skin and look like makeup. And with a brightener, that for sure is, because especially if you're going from a color like this down to more of a color like this, it's gonna set even more and look unnatural. So get that damp perfector, press it on. That is totally needed there. So I'm gonna show you how you can add a brighter shade. So even if you have more mature skin and you want that pop, okay? I usually recommend trying linen first. I feel like it's only technically one shade down from this, but holy moly, is it brighter. It's one of those crazy shades. It's just so bright. A little goes a long way. So, okay, so I'm gonna put some of it on the back of my hand because I got too much on my finger. And I didn't do it on the other side, so let's just do both sides. So I'm gonna kind of get one on each finger, and I'm gonna go right there at the tear duct area. Okay. Okay, with mature skin, more is not better. Okay, so don't overload it. It's gonna be harder to remove all that excess if you put way too much product on. But you can then move it by pressing, and then just kind of keep pressing and moving that, okay? And right there, we don't have a lot of texture. We don't have a lot of lines and wrinkles. And so that is what is also gonna brighten your eye. So that is where we wanna concentrate that color, okay? It's not gonna emphasize too much, but it is gonna give you that pop of brightness to the center of your face, right? Can you see that? Okay, so that was linen. And now to probably my biggest question, and I'm just gonna like lump this all together. How to avoid getting crepey, creasing, or settling into fine lines. And I'm gonna lump in mascara transfer, all of that in this one. Okay, so obviously we just put a lot of creams under our eyes. We totally brightened. Okay, so the number one thing you cannot skip is the perfector, which is what I just talked about, because all of this, okay, is gonna move because it's a cream. So unlike liquid foundations that once you put them on, they set, they dry, okay? They don't move with your face. They actually will crack throughout the day. Creams do move, okay? They move with your face. So you'll never get that cakey, cracking, drying look, but they can move to wherever you have those fine lines and wrinkles, which we don't want. So, number one thing to avoid that is removing excess. If you overload and just are wearing way too much cream, then yes, it's gonna migrate to anywhere you have creases and crevices. So for me, it's under my eyes and my smile lines. You can see it will collect right there. So what do? I always recommend using the perfector across your entire face, but really use it anywhere you feel like you're going to have collection. So I go under the eyes, and I usually do the under eye quite a lot. Like I'll just keep going. And then when I finally feel like it looks good, I will look at it, and usually I can still see some. Then I use the warmth of my fingers and I kind of just pat it out. And then I honestly try not to look down again before I set that in place. So once you remove that excess, that's step one. Step two is to prevent it from ever moving. And the only way you can do that is by using a powder, okay? So I already had powdered this. I don't know why I'm touching that. Oh yeah, I added linen, I forgot. So I use the warmth of my fingers. I make sure I don't have anything in lines, because once you powder those areas, they're gonna be stuck there, okay? And then you're just going to set any creases, which is the last thing you wanna do. So I really love the Power Powder Brush because I can really control how much I get. So the biggest things with powders is you have to find a finely milled one. So I have probably tested all the high-end powders. There's only like one I can actually use, maybe two, under my eyes without them making me look older. So the other issue was crepey. If you have too much product under your eyes and then you powder, okay? If you have too much product and you powder, it's gonna look crepey no matter what powder you use. If you use too heavy a powder, it's gonna look crepey. So the best way to not age yourself is to make sure you've removed all the excess, and then you're using very little powder, and a very finely milled powder, one that's almost specifically made for under eyes. So there are a couple I like. I do like Hourglass Veil. I'll show you guys real quick. The only two I've found, because that's my problem area, is Hourglass Veil and Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish. Both of these are pricier. I, on the daily basis, just use my Vanilla Dust. It's in there. It's a very finely milled powder. I don't recommend this for oily skin, for all over, but for the under eyes, it is incredible because I know exactly how much to pick up with this brush. And what I do is I touch it. That's it. I touch it. I don't swipe into it. I don't put pressure. I just touch it, barely tap in, and this is enough for my entire under eye. So I make sure I don't have any creases, and then I'm gonna go all the way down the side of my nose, because I can get creasing right there, and all the way to the corners where my crow's feet are, and then back down. So I do the full triangle for powder, and then on some days I don't pick up more. I just take the excess right there down the smile line. I'm gonna put a little bit right here since I added that. And then I occasionally go right between my brows because I get shiny right there. So there you go. The key for not looking crepey, small amount, and you want a finely milled powder. Some of these heavier loose powders, you can't tell if a powder is finely milled by looking at it. I will tell you that much. Powders, especially loose powders, look like loose powders. It is so hard to tell until you experiment with them and try them under your eyes. So powder will prevent creasing. The right powder and the smallest amount of powder will prevent crepiness, settling into fine lines, again, perfector and a powder. And then for mascara transfer, obviously if you don't powder under your eyes and you have a lot of creams and you're using, say, a mascara that is very creamy in itself, as you blink throughout the day, that's going to transfer to the creams. So one thing you can do is powder under your eyes. Another thing is just simply using some kind of eyeshadow on that lower lash line, because usually that's the only part that is gonna really be touching your lashes, and those powders, the eyeshadow, is gonna be like a powder. It's gonna almost set that area just on that lower lash line. So it depends on exactly where you're finding the transfer. Another great tip is using a mascara that's a tubing mascara, and those type will actually create like tubes around your lashes. They don't smudge, they don't flake, and they don't transfer. And those are really great in combination with a cream makeup. Okay, so on the subject of eyes, let's go ahead and finish up the eyes. So on this side, I went ahead and did my brows and my eyes, and I'm gonna show you just real quickly some tricks for eye makeup for when you have more aging eyes. So I definitely understand that is my biggest issue. So when it comes to eyes, why I was so mad earlier, I find it so important to use an eyeshadow primer. And I totally put, now look, can you see that? I have creasing. So if you have a lot of texture or hooded eye, a lot of texture in that area, I have to use an eyeshadow primer. And that is the only way I can not get creasing. So I'm just gonna go in with a little bit right over my creams because I forgot to do it. So what I normally do is I apply this very first thing. I got all messed up because I was doing my lashes, but I apply that very first thing, and then I apply my highlight over it to even out my eyelids, and then I powder that. So just like underneath my eyes, I have to powder my lids in order to not get creasing. Now here I am more heavy-handed with my powder. I swipe into it because I want a nice powdered base so that when I apply a powder on top of a powder, it's not sticking, it's not pulling, and I get a really nice blend. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just go in. I always recommend with mature eyes, almost going in with the lightest colors and then going darker from there in order so you get the nicest blend. I know a lot of people say stick with only mattes, and I've found, at least on my eyes, I feel like strictly matte shades almost show more texture on my lids. So I kind of feel like if you're scared of shimmer, don't be scared of shimmer, you just use it strategically. And satin shades are really good because it's kind of not too much sparkle, but not that overly matte, seems to look just as textured as overly shimmery. So some of my favorites that I feel like aren't super shimmery, I'm gonna swatch them for you real quick. So, well, I already have, let's take off the other ones first. Okay, so let's go with Stay Golden. Technically, it looks like a matte, but there is a slight shimmer in it to where it looks satiny. So to me, a satin just has a little bit of a sheen, okay? On Wednesdays. Okay, do you see how that's got a sheen? It's not sparkly, it's just a sheen. Crush is one of those that I feel like is kind of in the middle. It's a little bit more sparkly, but it's not so shimmery that it's going to, at least I feel like it doesn't on me. Rome is probably one of my favorites for that. It's like Sabrina, but more of a sheen than a sparkle. Now here is Sabrina, if you want to compare the two. See how much shimmery Sabrina is? Sabrina is one that I consider shimmery, and I use that in strategic places. And then my last one would be London. You see how that one has a sheen to it? It's not matte. Let's see if the camera will pick it up. It's got a sheen to it. So I'm wearing London today. I really love it. You can wear it a little bit lighter or darker depending on your preference, but I find that those are really great lid colors. It gives a little bit of life to your lid. It kind of catches the light, but it doesn't look too flat and show too much texture all at the same time. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick eye look. Okay, so a little bit about what I did. I'm a big believer in using a little bit of warmth to carve out your eyelids. So I used Bubba, but then I wanted to deepen it up a little bit. So if you have trouble ever like blending out your eyelids, especially if you have a lot of texture and stuff there, slowly build the color. Start with the lightest, and then you can use a little bit of a darker color right under it to kind of carve out your actual crease a little bit more. I pressed a little bit of London on the lid. I use Sabrina on my inner corner and then not like all the way under my brow. The biggest thing is you want to do just the top highest point of your brow, and that's gonna lift, okay? This opens up the eye, brightens it, and that just lifts your brow, which everybody needs. So that was Sabrina. I used just a touch of Rome just right there on the center of the lid. And then I used both Trust for my brows and for liner. So I am a huge believer that with liner, you want to stick with less harsh liners. If you do want more depth, you can totally use a pencil or a liquid, but just kind of smudging it out a little bit with a shadow and really taking that harsh edge, it really diffuses the line and causes you to look, it just looks younger and more youthful. Okay, so that was eyes. So soft shades, slowly build up from lightest to darkest. Try some satin shades. Don't skip eye primer. As we age, our eyes are totally more textured, and we need that in order to not get creasing and just to make it last all day. No harsh liners, really diffuse that line, and don't extend your eyeshadow too much. So when you start extending past, I always say this is kind of the guideline from the corner of your nose, corner of the eye, tip of the brow. You want to stay within that region. The more you come down here, the more it's going to make your eyes look down and droopy. Okay, so we want to lift the eyes because as we age, it does. This area starts sagging. Our brows start pointing more downward. So if your brows are pointing more downward, one cool trick is to kind of, instead of just following the line down, you can totally make this line out straighter so that you can cause more of a straightened brow is gonna lift versus one that's like this and it's gonna close this area off and make your eyes look smaller and more aged. Okay, so we got our eyes done. We're finally to blush. Gosh, I swear I talk too much. So there's not a whole lot with blush. They say to not go too bright and bold with your blush. I think it's more about placement than actual shade choices. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I feel like a lot of our shades at least can be so pigmented that you can use very little. That doesn't mean you can't wear those colors. You just maybe don't have to wear as much. So I'm gonna pick up that B squared again, and I'm gonna show you a color that might not be soft and looking neutral, but it is gorgeous, and I think it could work on any skin age. So one thing with blushes, so since we're still wanting that luminosity, try a satin. So this is a satin shade. I feel like satins are gorgeous on mature skin because it gives a slight dewiness. It's not so much as the glossies, but it's not that matte that our mattes have. So you could totally even wear a matte and then layer a little bit of this over it to kind of give it that sheen. I do that all the time. So when it comes to placement, a lot of people just go straight for the apples of the cheeks, and I find the biggest thing is either getting too close to the nose or too low or too high on the face. It's like one or the other. So my kind of rule of thumb is going like 1 to 2 finger widths away from your nose. Okay, I feel like 2 is probably the best because when you smile, your apples of your cheeks go up, but then when you don't smile, they go down. So if you just go right there and this goes down, you're suddenly under your nose. So they say to look youthful, you want that blush to start above your nose. Okay, so what I do is I always kind of smile, go to the complete outside, and then I stop right there. So that's like right in line with my nose, right in the outside. And then I go up along my contour. Okay, we want to hug that contour. Blush makes our contour look more natural. If you're not new to contouring, you might not realize that blush is so needed when it comes to contour. So You want them to be almost on top of each other, okay? So that it kind of blurs and it, I don't know, I almost call it ombres up into your blush. Now, one of the biggest things I feel like was kind of an old makeup trick, and it's because it used to be back in the day before there was such a thing as contour and people were using blush to contour, is that they were putting their blush really high up on their cheekbones, okay? Now that is where we put the illuminator, okay? Right up on the top of your cheekbones. Blush will go right, almost right on the cheekbone, okay? So our contour goes right under the cheekbone, our blush goes right on the cheekbone, and our illuminator goes right above the cheekbone on that highest part, okay? So when I apply, I'm just gonna go right to the outside of that apple, and then I'm just gonna press right along that contour line. And then I usually kind of just go like this, so it kind of diffuses in with the rest. Now, obviously there's no mistakes with lip and cheeks, so if you need to clean anything up, pull it back. If you get too high, too far over, too low, simply press around it or grab that perfector and take it off, okay? So, can't mess it up. When it comes to illuminator, so I find a lot of more mature ladies don't think they can wear illuminator. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no. I would probably recommend not wearing the powder illuminator, but the cream illuminators, absolutely yes. When I first discovered mascara, I feel like that was what I'd been missing. I always had used a highlight. I'd used creams, I'd used powders, I'd used liquids, but they always were either harsh or emphasized any texture I had there. And you know, I got crow's feet. It's there. So the creams were a game changer for me because I felt like I looked so much younger because that glow was in my face again, but it wasn't harsh or made me look like a teenager trying to wear highlight, right? So I'd stay away from our powder illuminators unless you love that wet looking highlight look. So my biggest recommendation for illuminator is to not go too far close to your eye. So when you smile, okay, all these lines right here, we don't want it that close to the eye, okay? You want it right on the very top of where you just put that lip and cheek. And if you stay right there when you smile, it's not gonna emphasize because you guys know, shimmers emphasize texture, keep it out of that texture, okay? So I just kind of swipe it with my perfector. It's my favorite way to apply it because it will blend it the same time and you won't have any fingerprints. I just simply press it right on the upper part and look at that glow, okay? And if it's too much, just flip it over and kind of press it in until it gets to your liking. And you can use this instead of a powder under your brows on the inside corners. Those are my favorite places to kind of bring that light. Okay, so next I'm going to finish with our lips. So I did have, until I talked too much, I had one side of my lips done. One of my favorite liners for lips is just using our contours. They're drier, so they stay. I feel like they're more long wearing than a lip liner and they don't bleed like lip liners do. So I know as we age, we can get a lot of lines around our mouths. Again, this is key. And if you feel like you're still getting any kind of bleeding or anything, I would use a little bit of powder around your lips if you have lines there. I like to use the Multitasker and Indigo, which is one of our darkest contours, but it almost creates a shadow around the mouth. And I'm just gonna do the whole thing so it's even. Okay. So our lips also kind of lose density as we get older. So a fun trick is to grab your contour brush and this detailed end and just use a little bit of your contour right under the center of your lip. Okay, it kind of gives the illusion of a more powderier lower lip. Then you can take your highlight that we just used, or our illuminator, and do the Cupid's bow, which is going to bring light outwards, and that's going to emphasize your lips as well. So I'm just going to use my finger, add a little bit Tropicana. Again, our lips lose moisture, so I feel like the satins are perfect for dry lips. I know that's all I ever use, and if I do use a matte, I top it with a gloss. So matte lips will just emphasize dry looking lips, and we don't want that either. Okay, I think our face is finally done. So very last, how do we keep that youthful glow? Okay, so with creams, you're already gonna have that glow. If you used more powder because you were worried more about creasing and settling into fine lines, the way to get that glow back to your skin, so it's all about order, okay? So I always do all creams, then I can powder where you need to. Then if you wanna add the glow back and kind of take away some of that powdery finish without taking the purpose of the powder away, because it's still just set your makeup, is you can use a setting spray. So I do recommend both for mature skin. A setting spray itself will not keep my makeup from traveling into my fine lines. It doesn't work for me. It might for you. You can totally try it. I still love our Stay Spray. I know it's been out for a long time. It should be back this summer. So right now I've been trying some other, and so far my favorites are gonna be the Urban Decay All Nighter or this Skindinavia, the Bridal Makeup Finishing Spray. Okay, so what setting spray does is it will take away that powder look. It's gonna add glow and more luminosity to your skin, and it's gonna help your makeup last all day. You gotta spray a lot more of these finer ones. So, there you go. So we powdered when we needed it, and then we added that glow back, and we got our longevity, and there we go. And I just realized I did forget something. Rewind. One last thing, and honestly, I can tell you right now, it doesn't matter if I already use my setting spray or not. It's not gonna make that big of a difference. But one thing that you can also do to add glow and warmth to your face that I feel like always makes you look youthful is bronzer. So if you're not a big fan of bronzer, if you've never used a cream bronzer, that might be why, because a powder bronzer for mature skin is going to dull your skin because it's a powder. It's gonna take away that glow. But a cream bronzer will not. And it's very wearable because it's a matte, and it's very buildable, so you can just kind of use it where you need to. I love to add a little bit of our Glow, which is an illuminator, and I like to mix them together to give even more of luminosity to my skin. But you could totally use it without the Glow. And I just like to do it so we brightened the center. I'm just gonna add a little bit of warmth right to where I didn't brighten. So right there. And this is another really, really great tool to have in your compact for those days where you just feel like your skin needs a little color, or if your neck is lighter than your face. So a lot of mature skin clients have really warm chests, and then they have lighter necks, and then they have warmth in their face. So obviously, as our skin gets sun, this part is kind of shadowed by our faces, and you're gonna get the most sun here and on the chest. So a great trick is to just take a little bit of Bella and add warmth to your neck and kind of blur those two together. And it is really easy, quick, and a great way to like tie together your neck, face, and chest without having to try to match one or the other. Because otherwise you're gonna have to try to match your face to your neck or your face to your chest, and your neck's gonna look off. So add that little bit of Bella bronzer and you're golden, and now I'm done. So I will shut up. That was long enough. I hope that helped answer some of the most frequently asked questions for my mature skin beauty. If you have any more questions, please drop them in the comments below and I'd be happy to help. Thanks for being here. Love you guys.